Thank you for joining our Smart Factory session at Smart Factory Expo. I'm Helena Lisachuk, Global IoT Leader at Deloitte. I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague, Nick Davis, Industry 4 Leader in the UK, and Pugal Janakiraman, Worldwide Business Development Leader for Industrial IoT at AWS. Today, we will be sharing our view on what Smart Factory is, how we see businesses being successful, and how Deloitte and AWS are partnering to help businesses being successful. So let me begin by framing what we mean when we say smart factory. We see smart factories using digital technologies as means to addressing daily production execution and connecting to the organization's digital supply network. To use the use of greenfield sensors or brownfield automation systems as data sources drives increased value for both inside and beyond the factory walls. So what are we talking about in terms of improvements? We are looking at efficiencies and transparency and responsiveness, which ultimately strives to steering at the production processes and businesses. Nick, for those who have implemented a smart factory, what are the 2 or 3 key lessons learned that you would like to share?
Thank you, Helena. And I'll just share 2 or 3. I think some key lessons learned from Deloitte research and my own personal experience. The first is around that focus on value. So, Industry 4 digital manufacturing has moved far beyond science projects. To give a sense about the types of value that we're seeing organizations pursue, we've been recently working with a global pharmaceutical business. Their objective over the next few years is to double their revenue. So the exam question that they're pursuing around digitization within their operations and manufacturing is, how can they support that revenue growth, but without having to add expensive and costly assets and other resources into their cost base? So how can they optimize their production to help support that revenue growth? But equally, there is a cost reduction agenda in many of our clients as well. We're seeing many that are looking at digitization as the opportunity to save in costs in areas, sometimes around direct labor, but also significantly around the amount of raw material they use, and for example, the scrappage rates as well. But finally, I think there are also some areas of value that organizations are pursuing around things like sustainability. So how can they reduce the consumption of raw materials and also consumptions of utilities like electricity and valuable water. But also, and I think this is sometimes a topic which is a little bit missed around some of the benefits, is how can you actually enable and make the ease of work land much better with the workforce and really put tools in the hands of the workforce that can deliver some of these benefits as well. The second, I think, key lessons learned is we conducted some research with the Manufacturers Alliance for Productivity and Innovation, and it was very clear that those who are leading around Industry 4 have a very diverse top-level engagement within the business. So it's not about one function being hugely engaged, it's about the alignment between the CFO, the CIO, the COO, and others, and joint sponsorship around these endeavors. But it's not just about the top floor, it's also about engaging the workforce and shaping the digital tools and digital technologies and solutions around specific personas and specific jobs that people not only do today, but will be doing in future as they go through these journeys as well. And finally, I think one of the key lessons learned is how clients are overcoming some of the huge diversity in their existing factory estates. So many have instances where they have some modern factories and some real leading lights in terms of the physical automation and the physical technologies that are being used, but also many deal with technologies and machines that are decades old as well. And I was struck by something that you mentioned recently in a webinar with AWS and Lockheed Martin, where there was a real thing around this concept about thinking big. They very deliberately thought about what was the end game, what were the strategic technologies and alliances they were going to use, and how were they going to address the very, very heterogeneous and diverse estate they're having to deal with as well. So I think those for me are some of the kind of the key lessons learned and themes that we see with different organizations. And I think that's what excites me about the whole topic about Industry 4, because it is so incredibly diverse.
A great learning experience we all had by having a guest from Lockheed Martin just telling us how they've done it. It's phenomenal, fantastic. And Pugal, How are AWS and Deloitte helping clients to progress through their journey and address their challenges?
Thank you, Helena. I think that's a great question. So, for answering that question, I need to go back and talk about the challenges customers are facing because, end of the day, we are a customer obsessed company. We work backwards from a genuine customer problem and then build offerings around that. Customers who are trying to start on an Industry 4.0 journey or a data driven decision making to streamline their manufacturing operations, they have genuinely difficult problems to solve today before they can streamline their businesses. For example, we are walking into a brownfield environment where there are proprietary hardware and protocols which has to be understood and to access to the data before we can streamline their manufacturing operation. Because if you look at the plant floor, there are many types of PLC makers, which has been generating data for decades, and there are historians, SCADA devices, which we have to integrate with. In addition to that, a particular these machines talk to each other in various different protocols. In fact, there are 400 plus protocols in which the machines talk to each other. A customer trying to start an Industry 4.0 journey have to learn how to integrate with these proprietary systems and learn how to deal with this protocol conversions before they can drive inferencing on the data being collected. So, and in addition to that, beyond connecting to a particular line or a machine, they have to build a scalable system into across multiple factories, take care of device updates, provide a hybrid architecture between edge to cloud computing, and all of these challenges they face today. These are the undifferentiated heavy lifting which they are struggling with. And in addition to that, this is shifting the focus away from solving a genuine business problem like improving the uptime, reducing the downtime of a machinery, or improving the quality of the products being produced. They are trying to figure out these problems, are trying to solve the problems associated, which they are not, that's not their strength. So what customers have been asking us for quite some time is there a quick start kit or a rapid start kit with which we can take the journey where we don't need to do this undifferentiated heavy lifting between AWS and Deloitte. You guys solve that problem. From a day one, we can solve the business problem. So that's what we did, AWS and Deloitte together around 18 months back in the context of the customer, which Nick mentioned earlier, to build a solution offering called as a Smart Factory Fabric, where that leverages all our AWS services and also our offerings like Connected Factory to build a total solution which can accelerate the customer's Industry 4.0 journey and then start solving the business problem. That's what we did as part of this joint solution offering.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to go back to something both of you mentioned is focus on the business value and getting there faster, as well as how important it is to have the leadership alignment and leadership support. From the discussions that I'm having with the customers, it's less about technology because currently the belief is technology will allow you to do anything, but it's really, especially when we partner with AWS, the speed of innovation is incredible. But this is really about winning the hearts and minds, right? And it's building that connection between the Exco, like top to shop floor, right? Connection. It's really building that connection and full sponsorship from the Exco level and then IT and digital executives towards the plant managers and the line operators. So winning the hearts and minds of these individuals and building the cross-functional teams and working together, that is one of the toughest things that we've seen with our clients. It's very doable, but it's really not easy to do. So that's one of kind of my observations, if I may chime in there. So what is one idea that you would like to leave our audience with as they are embarking on the smart factory journey? Nick, would you like to say something about it?
Sure, Elena. And I think this comes back to this point around the engagement, top floor and shop floor. And I'm a big fan of seeing is believing. Smart Factory Expo is one of many different ways that many executives and others can engage around the topic around Industry 4, smart factory, digital manufacturing, and so on. But that can't be for everybody. One of the hugely valuable tools I've seen is actually taking these concepts about smart factory to the factory. So just to bring that to life, we worked with a medical device manufacturer, and we actually took a virtual reality setup and various different demonstrators of these technologies into their factories. And we gave them the opportunity for, during break times and so on, the opportunities for the shop floor operators, quality, engineering, the NPI teams and so on, to see some of these technologies. And we also asked them how they saw that these could be applied within their day-to-day working and some of the challenges they could address. And we collected, as a result of that, hundreds of ideas, and it was a fabulous engagement tool. So I do think there is something around the concept of seeing is believing, and making sure that actually the broadest population as possible can be engaged in understanding how value can be delivered from these concepts and technologies.
Thank you, Nick. Pugal, what would be a thought or two you would like to leave us with today? What worked particularly well from your experience?
Absolutely. I think the key here, Helena, is what Nick mentioned earlier, the top floor to shop floor. To get a bit more precise into that, there are three personas involved here between top floor to shop floor. Again, in the order of priority, uh, business, there is OT, operational technology, there is IT, information technology. Their priorities could be a bit different. We have to demonstrate value and build a groundswell at a plant level, and to go win it across beyond one particular location into multiple locations. So to get more precise into that, for example, business, they care about solving business problems. We have to demonstrate solutions which can improve productivity, throughput, visibility into supply chain, streamlining inbound, outbound logistics, improvement of quality operation. This is what they care about. 60% of revenue of any industrial company goes into manufacturing operation. They care about, can I reduce 1% of that expense going on and improve the efficiency of my plant floor? Then you got their attention. We need to prove it out with real solutions. That's one. The second persona involved here is OT, operational technology. They care about, we've got multiple protocols with which these machines talk to each other. When a line goes down or a machine goes down, for me to diagnose the problem, I need access to this data. How can I provide that in near real time so they don't have to wait for accessing the time it takes to access the data, because it comes at the expense of production. For example, if I take a real customer example for an auto company we work with, if a particular line or a machine goes down in that production facility, they make $60,000 loss for every minute that particular line is down. So, and today it takes them 15 minutes to get access to the OT data for them to diagnose the problem. If we can provide that in near real time, which we can do with our smart factory fabric, instead of waiting for 15 minutes, which cost them nearly $1 million in losses at production loss, we can do that savings, $1 million savings directly straight off with that access to the data, what they are looking for. Then let's look at IT side. What are they expecting? They care about, is there a rinse and repeatable solution which I can take it and deploy it across the whole plant instead of at a line level, or across 30 different factories? And how do I deal with security issues if I am going to use edge hardware out there, so there is no hacking in and all the other problems associated with that? How do I architect it between edge and the cloud? Because it's a reality production greenfield or a brownfield. There is going to be a hybrid architecture between edge and the cloud. So somebody has to architect that. If I go into a defense or a other government sector out there, there is security regulations. If a machine sends out 30 to 40 tags, they cannot send everything to the cloud. We need to define them an edge architecture and an edge analytics in addition to a cloud-based solution. These are all the things IT cares about. Again, we have thought through that, and that's how we have built the solution offering together between AWS and Deloitte. So I would say that that's a depth in which we have to go solve the problem and create this groundswell and show value with the customer for all three personas involved.
Well, thank you, Nick, and thank you, Pugal, and thank you, everyone, for joining us for the discussion about Smart Factory. Please do visit Deloitte at our virtual Smart Factory Expo stand and connect with us via email or LinkedIn to continue this conversation. Thank you very much.